Wade is guarding Bryant. Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up at the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
Good morning, and welcome back for Winning on Wednesday. We are live from Austin, Texas. My name's Tony Merwin. That dude over there is Joe Campert. You've probably heard of him before.
I would think they've heard of me before if they're watching this show. But what's up, everybody? Good morning. I am hyped to be back on for Winning on Wednesday. Hope everybody's having an amazing start to your week. We got an action-packed show for y'all. Hey, real quick, too, just like you can see Brian's name up on the show. Good morning, Brian. Thank you for always tuning in, man. Make sure and let StreamYard view your comments. It's in the description of the actual show, or the caption, whatever you want to call it in the Facebook post. Just let you get up on the screen here like Mr. Ryan England. What's going on, Mr. England? How are you, sir? Good to see you.
Always here, always with us.
Oh, always here. Him and Brian too. And shout out to Brian. Actually, I was looking at our analytics, and Brian was our most active member, or has been for the past month. So shout out to you, Brian. Appreciate you, man. Good morning, Facebook user. I hope this isn't your wife. Well, no, she normally comments in Spanish, so it's not her.
She doesn't know how to spell y'all. It's okay.
What's going on with you, man? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, dude. If I'm doing any better, I'd probably fall down in fits, just to be honest with you. So, another gorgeous day in Austin, Texas. I had an awesome time at SWAT. I talked a little bit about that yesterday on Tuesday training, but I mean, just a fantastic event all around. I love going to that event, and certainly happy to have you back in the office. A little more energy in here. It's not as quiet as it was yesterday.
Yeah.
You and Moses, you and that horse come in here and start trouncing around. Gets real loud real fast.
He's giving me like devil eyes right now through my door because he's like, you haven't been home for a week, dude. Come on. But yeah, man, I mean, that's got to be one of my wins. I got like 3 weekly wins this week, is just being back in the office. So I've been gone for the past week, but for my second win, which was a big part of that, was attending SWAT last week. And wow, like shout out to Nate Offert, and I know some people probably saw us blasting a lot of that within the group. It's because of how important it is. And so it was an amazing event. That was my 5th event. So I've been going back for 5 years in a row and still gaining so much value from it. But honestly, dude, it's up there with probably, I think it might be like one of my top SWATs outside of when I first did the blueprint, just because I'd never done something like that before. But man, such a powerful event. I got to bring somebody on my team there. Shout out Jordan, and he got a ton from it. It was really cool to see somebody brand new to our industry. I mean, this guy's asking me questions. He's coming back and picking up. He's already got his 2-month goal to be life licensed because he wants to get into that space. So that was awesome. And then my third one, man, which you saw, and some of you guys saw my post yesterday. If you haven't, go check it out on my personal profile. Got to go see our first ever Redwood agent partner, like basically the first person that ever chose to partner with us years ago. And her name is Tia. And so we got to go see Tia in Missouri. Some of you guys may know her story. She is battling cancer right now. And so we went up to go spend some time with her, man. And it was amazing. It was such I had such an awesome day yesterday. We got to spend like all morning with her, got to go have lunch with my brother. Flight got delayed, but whatever, right? We got home and now we're back in office. But shout out to Tia. I know you're probably not watching this, but love you, girl. And she's just, I mean, so powerful, man. And it really makes you count your blessings and think about what all we have. Right. So those are my wins. I hope you guys can resonate a little bit with that, because it was crazy powerful, man. I've had a crazy week. It's been awesome, but I'm back in office, and I'm super excited for today's show.
Coming through the interwebs.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Well, guys, so we have an action-packed show, and this guy, it's crazy. Some of y'all probably, actually, I feel like a lot of people maybe don't know Sam because Sam he rolls under the radar a little bit, but man, this guy's accolades and just what he is, what he's really accomplished in the industry and what he's still accomplishing at a very high level. So I'm very excited to have him on the show. We got to connect with him at SWAT. Without further ado, give a nice warm welcome to our guy, Mr. Sam Wolfe. How are you, brother?
I'm doing great. Good morning.
Good.
Glad to be on your show,
Morning,
man.
morning.
It's good to see you.
Yeah,
I like
good
that
to see you,
chair.
Yeah.
Very regal.
Thank you. My office isn't quite regal, but you can't really see all the rest of it.
It's all good. It's
Oh,
all good.
mess.
So thank you for joining us, man. It's always good to see you and hang out with you. I certainly enjoyed getting to spend more time with you again at SWAT, which is always good. You're there. I mean, Joe and I have been there 5 times. Sam's there every time. He's like a fixture on the front row of SWAT. You'll see him anytime you go. But, we know who you are. Some of these folks watching our show probably know, but a bunch of people don't. So take just a little short moment, just kind of introduce yourself, let them know who you are and kind of what you're up to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So again, my name's Sam Wolfe. I'm the president of Mazuma Financial Group. We're a life insurance driven FMO, specializing in the final expense market predominantly, and in the mortgage protection market. So, I'm based out of Dallas, Texas. Been involved with quite a few other IMOs that I've owned in the past. And so, yeah, we're just staying steady, rocking and rolling, doing my thing, man.
Right. I'm curious where you came up with the name Mazuma.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So when I owned a company called Unique Underwriters back in the day,
I remember them.
Yeah, I had taken that company public, and there was a company out of New York that I got exposed to that I didn't do any business with them, but I liked the name. Just the name resonated, and I found out that the name was like an old Hebrew name that meant bread, which at the time converted to it meant money. And so, we're in the financial services industry, and at the end of the day, what we're dealing with is money on all levels. So, financial. So for the clients, for the agents, we're in a money-based industry. And so I said, you know what? If I ever start another company, I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna see if that name's available, and then I'm going to use that name. And it was as simple as that.
And that was Mazuma.
It was Mazuma. Yeah.
All right. It's a lot better than Bolillo.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. It's amazing. You can turn any name into something if you actually do something with it.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
That's powerful. I love how you've just like subtly thrown around. Yeah, these are the companies I used to own back in the day. It's like, yeah, we went public with that one, but I got exposed to this one, and I really like the name. Just dropping that subtly. Real quick, what's a weekly win for you? What you got?
I've got a few. So I've recently partnered up with another FMO that they do multiple millions in premium, life premium, and so we're in the process of integrating that organization into our organization, which is going to substantially increase our overall volume as a company, and ultimately our value. So that's a big win. A lot involved with getting that done. But that's been the big focus really for the past month. As of yesterday, we were able to really kick it into gear and start getting the contracting and all of that stuff moving forward. So
the tedious stuff.
So I'm super excited about that. And then, we have a lead generation company as well. And we're on a trajectory over the next 6 months to be able to pump out over 10,000 leads a month,
Wow.
which will help us substantially grow as a company as well. And in the final expense market, actually, we have the opportunity to generate Medicare leads as well, even though I'm in the process of, by the end of the year, I'll be in the Medicare market, marketing and, building. So yeah, I mean, those are two big deals, as of what's cooking right now. And there's multiple other ones. And you mentioned SWAT, I think SWAT's always great. In the meetings are great, but outside of the meetings and getting to know new people and just hanging out with you guys and the people that we've built relationships over the years is great. And my son, you met Simon. And so I brought him to SWAT this year, and he is in the business. I hired him. He's working here now for Mazuma as a marketer, internal marketer. So he's starting to work with the agents here in the company. And within about, I'd say 30 to 60 days, he'll be marketing to, bring people into our organization. He's just going through training right now. And he's also in the process of getting his insurance license. So
nice.
I'm anticipating him having his license at some point this month, but that doesn't always work out that way. And I know that firsthand from when I first got my license. And what's cool is that I got my license when I was like 21, 22. He's 18.
Right.
So,
right.
It's just super cool to see how the generations are, I'm actually a second generation insurance person. He's moving in and he'll be a third generation, which is kind of cool.
Second generation. Awesome. That's a good place to pick up. So your father was an insurance agent, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So my dad, he got into the business back in the late 70s, and he started a company called Equita Financial in 1983. It's also known now as Equita EFIS. Merrill Life owns them now. But he was the original, him and another partner were the original founders. And that's how actually I got started in the business. I worked for them when I was when I was a teenager, off and on in the office. But when I got my insurance license, I went out in the field and I worked within that organization. That's where I got started.
Just out in the field, banging on doors, running leads, selling final expense?
Well, back then, direct mail was kind of like
was worthwhile.
Yeah. So direct mail was kind of like some of this like really new technology stuff we're using now to be able to generate leads.
Right.
And so he had created a mail house in the 403B market, teacher market. And so we had our office, and then right next to our office, we had our mail house, and we had those machines pumping leads out to teachers. Back then you could mail it to their mailboxes in their schools. And you can't do that anymore. But and so, we were getting gigantic lead returns, and we had a telemarketing center and I worked in the telemarketing center when I was a teenager, making appointments for agents. But we would make appointments for the agents. They got free leads. We made appointments. The appointments are free. It was a career model. So, if we had the resources, comp was probably a little bit different than maybe what it is on the brokerage, but it was an excellent model. And that's what I did when I first got started and did very well. Went to college for a couple of years and decided I wasn't going to go back after I got in the insurance business officially. Yeah. It does. Yeah.
Been there.
If you're good, then you never go back. If you're not, then you're going back to college.
That's funny. Yeah, that's good. Well, kind of talk about some of that, man, because I think, and obviously, guys, you can look up in the accolades and what he was able to do in that side of the 403B market, and then the mortgage protection market as well, off of mailers, right? Like when this shit was new, right? And he's going out and banging doors and doing all that type of thing to actually hit those numbers that are above, right? Which those aren't small numbers by any means. Kind of talk about some of that, and really, obviously, we're coming off SWAT, so maybe kind of share some of the mindset, some of that grit, some of that whatever it was that really, hey, and because again, at that age too, you got to think, and I know even if maybe you're an older agent, but you're a newer into the industry,
yeah,
right? Like when you're a kid back then, it was easy to probably get sidetracked to like, hey, go chase another shiny object or something else, right? Maybe kind of talk a little bit about that, like what was it that went into it. Especially back in that time.
Yeah. So, there's been a lot of changes in the industry over the years, but the fundamentals haven't changed. At the end of the day, what I love about SWAT and what I love about, the 8% Nation, and all these different conferences that are going on. I know there's a lot on the Medicare side that at some point I'll get involved in, but we use the word, you got to find a mentor a lot. And I don't think people really understand what that means, or understand you got to take action to build a relationship and to reach to a mentor. Usually a mentor ain't going to come looking for you. You
Right.
got to go looking for them. Or
I'm looking for mentees.
yeah. So, I was lucky, maybe blessed at the same time when it comes to with my dad being my mentor. He was probably one of the most ruthless mentors you could have. Some of you on who are going to watch this already know that by just doing business with him, but being his son was even a whole nother level. And so I never had any shiny object, I would say, in terms of, changing industries. But he every day, even today, he's my business partner today. He's an owner in Mazuma Financial. So we're partners, him and my mom. They're both. My mom actually got actively into business about 7 years ago, and she's a beast as well. And so I never knew it. But I had excellent mentorship, not normal mentorship, but it was definitely something that I give credit to today. I didn't like it probably when I was younger. The expectations were just in general high, like you set different bars, and, we get excited when we talk about, in the insurance industry, make $1 million a year, right? Mm-hmm. But if you say I'm going to make $1 million a year to some tech billionaire, he's like, okay, that's like 2 hours of, so it's all relative, right, to who you're dealing with and who's maybe mentoring you. And so that's really the key is just, if whatever organization you're working with, obviously the owner is going to be probably one of the most driven, or the most driven probably should be. If you can get to know the owners of the different organizations that you're working with and let them figure out a way to get them to get interested in you, if that means you got to put up huge numbers and just be focused or whatever it is, those are the ones that you really want to plug into and get to know and build, a lifetime relationship with, because life does this, business does this, things change, you hit little icebergs here. And when you have the right mentor and right partners, then they're going to have your back. They're going to be going through some things as well with you. And eventually you'll get to the point where you can reciprocate the same, same thing, to the younger people.
Yep. Is that where your business kind of, I guess we'll call it knowledge, but I feel like you're very savvy when it comes to just business in general, right? And again, you can see it, some of the stuff that we posted above, like everything that, and maybe kind of take us through that. What all did that process look? I mean, you said the tedious, and I know your red ass didn't like, it's not like you're doing the tedious stuff in the acquisition, right? Or anything like that. Or maybe you are, who knows? But kind of what was that process back then? Like with the AmeriLife stuff and everything?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. So, the tedious, well, I mean, I don't know how, like,
you're good.
At the end of the day, when if you're going to start your own business or whatever, you got to have balls, and you've got to have iron balls, and then you've got to be the one who's driving whatever direction and the vision that you have for the for your company that benefits everybody. And then you're going to hire, you're going to spend money. A lot of people don't want to invest or spend any money in their business, and they don't understand why it doesn't grow. So you're going to hire what administration and legal and accounting and marketers, and if you don't have the money, you're going to have to go and figure it out how to get it, and you got to go find it. And if that means you've got $1 million a month mail bill that you can't afford, then you better figure out how to get creative on coming up with that, or you're not going to be able to have that business anymore or at all. So you at the end of, you ask a lot of people, why aren't you growing? And they start coming up with all these excuses. And I say, well, how much are you investing in your marketing? What does that look like? Let me take a look at your profit and loss sheet. There's nothing. There's zero money going towards any real marketing to be able to bring, agents into your organization. And do you have any staff that's going to be able to help you with recruiting? Or are you going to do everything yourself? Because if you do everything yourself, you're going to hit a ceiling of whatever your capacity is,
Yep.
And the people that get big, they understand that, you've got to partner up with people. Sometimes a lot of times you have to have silent partners that have a lot of money that can invest in you. They believe in you. They believe in your vision. They believe in your integrity. And they're going to, you might think it's difficult for some to stroke a $500,000 check, but it's nothing for some people out there that are looking to do private equity, that are looking to do venture capitalism. There's individuals. How many of you are out there talking to people about doing that? Probably not many of you. Maybe you're scared to, or maybe, whatever it may be. And so those are the keys. I had the benefit of having Rick, my dad, who had the business with Equita at the time. But in 2010, I decided that I didn't want to live completely under his shadow anymore. And I wanted to have my own company. And so I figured out a way to be able to negotiate a deal with him that allowed me to start the company I just mentioned, Unique Underwriters. So from 2002 to 2010, I was working within the organization that I got started with, but I said I wanted my own identity. I wanted to be able to take the company in different directions. I wanted to take it public. I thought that was a good idea at the time. There was no way in hell he would have ever agreed to anything like that. And so I wanted to be a little more above the radar with marketing. And back then YouTube was out. So if you Google, Sam Wolfe, Unique Underwriters, you'll see stuff from like 2009 out there. And it was just, sorry, I have a sensor on my light. And so there was a lot of things I want to do. And I partnered up with some different people that could bring those things to the table that I was not very good at. And there was about 5 of us at the time. And each one of us I had a little bit more of the savvy business skills when it came to doing deals. I was, I like doing deals. And do
the deal, as Merwin says, do the deal, baby.
Yeah. So it's the deals that so I could line deals up, negotiate deals, but I had to be able to back up what I was doing. And so with the partnerships that I put together in 2010, those guys, they were each extremely talented in each one of the things that they did. And the company was successful. And, so, yeah.
Yeah, I love that, man. And so kind of take us, so let's go and really, okay, so how old were you then though? When was that? You said 2010?
2010. So, well, let's see here. I'm
not to date you.
I'm 42 now.
Yeah. So like
29.
So still in your 20s. Yeah. That's freaking amazing, man. I love that. And I think, you hit the nail on the head here. Me and Tony freaking preach this from the mountaintops. I know I do. And you kind of brought up, Cody Askins, and he's kind of the first one that really kind of opened my eyes to the power of strategic partnerships, man. Yeah. I mean, it is unlike anything. And you don't really, I think, well, it's because we're in an old industry. The old industry is like, no, right? Keep it all to yourself, right? The secret sauce is all yours. You don't want to, like having a partner, like what? Why would you do that, right? And now it's like so much of like these strategic partnerships are just they're forming all over the place. And I love the reason that you said is like, hey, when you're growing, right? When you get to those certain sizes, man, sometimes it's, and I'm seeing them, right? There are mergers, there are acquisitions, there are things happening in this industry right now, y'all, that I haven't seen in a while, where people they're gearing up, man. They're getting ready to go to war. Right. And especially in Tony's space, I've been seeing it a lot. Shout out to Christian Brindle. Kudos to you, man, for making that deal with integrity. But it's pretty crazy, especially on the Medicare side, because you guys are going against freaking Uncle Sam, and it's like sometimes you need that merger, that acquisition stuff to be able to compete with whatever who's on the damn commercial. I always forget. Tony, who's the Medicare guy on the commercial?
Oh, Joe Namath.
Yes, Joe Namath. You got to compete with Joe Namath. It's like you might need a couple extra partners, man.
Definitely.
I love that you said that. And even, I know that Tony can resonate with that. And, we're obviously in the same office and looking to do some strategic partnerships once we get into that Medicare space and all that good stuff. And I'm sure Tony can probably bounce off a little bit of that just because I think there is so much power in them. It really is. Yeah. Swallow the ego a little bit,
I think that's exactly that. Swallowing the ego is probably the problem most people have when it comes to bringing in a partner for their business. I know that's something that I would struggle with because I tend to get very attached to the things that I create or get involved in, right? I take a lot of ownership of stuff that I pour my heart and my sweat and tears into. And I tend to have trust factor issues with other people that are going to come in and take care of it in the same way. So when you're looking maybe to bring someone, you're like, all right, I'm at capacity, for example, right? There's not much more I can do. And I don't mean necessarily hiring someone to bring him in, but when you're thinking of, I need to find a partner to bring into this business to push it to the next level, what are some of the factors that I'm looking for to know that I'm ready for a partner? And two, and then how am I going about matching that up with the right person?
Yeah.
The right group, whatever that might look like.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be really, really careful when it comes to actually partnering with somebody, where, you've got your company and, you're going to be now chopping up your stock with, another actual partner. So, there's, as you just mentioned integrity and some of the, the AmeriLifes of the world, they go through an extreme vetting process before they buy you out and you partner with them, so if you're, looking to partner with just an individual, you've really got to know everything about them. You've got to know, you've got to do your research and get all the information about, what skeletons are in the closet, because they're going to come out at some point when you partner up with them. So I think that, you could take two companies that are doing very well, that one might have an extremely awesome lead program. The other one is just very strong in distribution, and somehow partner this up. I believe more in strategic partnering. However, however, when it comes to actual partnering, I think that there's a financial component that's probably, if you're already running a successful business and you've hit a capacity, it's just a matter of a lot of times we don't realize when you're growing, you're not making money.
Right.
So you're investing, you're
Right.
you're putting capital into your business. So, you can see these huge trajectories, but if you have a lead generation program and you're having to pump all this mail out or whatever it may be in order to be able to get to the next level, that's an investment. It's going to show a red on your balance sheet. So having a strong financial position, I've learned, is probably the most important. And then, you working 24/7, doing everything that you can in order to be able to do your side of the gig, and then strategically partnering with, different people that you're going to be able to bring resources to them. They're going to be able to bring resources to you. And then you guys together can grow your organizations. But to be able to try to prevent any sort of like partnership conflicts in the future when it comes to all the other crap that goes along with, once you settle in with your partner and the new and the excitement's worn off, and a few years have gone by. That's why a lot of them don't work out. They didn't, maybe they didn't partner for the right reasons, or they just didn't do it the right way. But so yeah, that's basically my advice. I don't 100% believe in just bringing partners in and partnering up, but strategic partners are definitely important. And having a capital infusion type of partner is extremely important in order to be able to stay in business year over year and continue to be able to grow and grow your business.
I think, one thing that I'm, excuse me, I'm a little bit more naive in this space as well, just because I'm not really in that whole kind of acquisition space. Like I've been a part of it, right? But I'm not really in it yet, that type of thing. But I think a lot of people, when they hear of having that financial component, right, that capital, right, we'll call it partner, they view it as, I got to give up some of my company. And it's like, you could just pay them interest and like they just make more money than what they gave you, right? Or they believe, like what you said earlier, it's like, hey, they believe in your vision, and that type of thing. But maybe their returns look different than you having, like, don't go to the table and offer them your company, right? It's like, it's like, okay, hey, just, can I get a loan, right? Or those types of things. Where I think a lot of the times you just go when you're like, okay, hey, if somebody's going to stroke me a check for freaking, let's say even just $100,000, you feel like the first thing is like, well, I got to give them like 5-10% of my company, right? Or something like that. And that's not necessarily the route you need to go.
Right. No, there's definitely, again, it depends on like who you are. So if you have good credit and you haven't screwed people over in the past and have, where you owe everybody and their mother, and now you're still trying to like borrow money, then that's different, But if you're a stand-up, person, and, you've got good credit and you've got a good business, you've got a good income coming in. If you're an agent and you're just producing and you want to build an agency, or if you're, a small agency, you got passive income coming in, there's a lot of leverage you can do with that. You just got to start talking. You got to figure out what you want to do. Not everybody is going to want to have a, multi-million-dollar company. Most people, when you really put pressure on them, they're happy making, a couple $100,000 a year. And that's kind of like where they stop. And so it's just how we've been programmed, over the years, because it still kind of falls within the job world. You get to become a executive vice president somewhere for a big company, you make $200,000 a year, $300,000 a year. That's a big deal. You're like one of the top people in whatever, Fortune 500 big company that you're working at, where our business gives us the ability to be able to really build a passive income where you have, 6 figures coming in as passive income from overrides and from other passive revenue sources that you build out in your model, rather than having to actually personally produce at some point once you get to that. And you've got, again, talking about acquisitions, their value in these companies over the past years. When I first got in the business and IMO, that people like, there was no integrities out there looking to buy them or AmeriLife. So it was like, they didn't even think it was worth anything. The carriers pretty much, it was like, they took the credit on the value of whatever the IMO is, because, they had the products, but finally, they figured out that they are worth a lot of money, and they put these like really huge multiples on them on the life insurance side. Obviously on the Medicare, it's significantly higher, but on the life insurance side, the multiples over the past few years were like, wow, that's, you make $1 million a year passive, through your agency, it's worth XYZ. Holy crap. So a lot of people saw the dollar, saw that opportunity, and they sold. Time will tell if that was a good decision or not. I personally don't know yet. I don't think that there's been any, there's a lot of things that have to happen, I think, for us to see what the real results are going to be, but it could end up being, you hit the lottery, maybe, I don't know, but it can also go the other way as well. So there's no guarantee, but it is interesting to see how valuable, an agency is at this point in the insurance industry. Because when I first got into it, good luck, but now you could turn around and you got $1 million a year or whatever it may be that your EBITDA, and you got you got a lot of leverage when it comes to that. But even if you do less than that, you've got a lot of leverage.
Well, so speaking of valuable, right? Let's kind of shift gears here to I want to go to Mazuma, right? And I kind of want to spend the rest of the show just kind of talking about, because I think what you're doing, like the model is out there, right? Where you're doing the leads and maybe a little bit let comp side, but like, hey, you have all of this that is supporting them on the back side of things. But I think you're also doing some things differently within that model. So maybe if you could maybe just take some time, kind of break down like what is Mazuma, right? And some of that is in the description above, but like what is your business model and how has it worked? And really kind of just break down some of that. I think a lot of agents will find value in that.
Sure. So, Mazuma's model was revamped for the most part in 2020, and through COVID, and with sorry, I was reading the little thing. All right. So when COVID happened, it actually helped, in my opinion, it helped the industry, and it made me realize that I can get out of the direct mail business and I can start exploring other types of leads rather than having to specifically focus on zip codes and specific counties to generate leads for agents that are going door to door, face to face. And when I look back at the final expense division that we had years ago, from when the old company I was with, people are still running a model. It has not changed much from, I would say, probably 20 years, maybe longer. And where it's still that old school kind of career, go into the neighborhood, knock on a bunch of doors, here's leads, show it to them. And to me, that just seems like it hasn't progressed very much. And they know it worked and it's working, but at some point, I don't think it will. And I had the same, not the same model, but on the mortgage protection side, we still made appointments. On the final expenses, more door knock, but on the mortgage protection, they would make appointments, go to the people's house. But I saw the lead returns dramatically decreasing even before the interest rates went up in April last year.
Right.
Because of the oversaturation in the mortgage protection market with all of the FMOs that are out there mailing and the mail houses that are mailing and all these distribution channels that got really big in about five-year period of time. And the lead returns are like 0.8%, 0.7%, 0.5%, 0.3%. And so I'm like, all right, that's like $100 lead. No agent's going to be able to be profitable if he writes good quality business month over month without just hard selling everybody, which creates a lot of chargebacks, but doing it the right way and writing the appropriate amount of business based on the leads, then they're not going to be very profitable. They might write $300,000 a year, but it's going to cost them a lot of money in order to be able to generate leads, if they can even get the leads in their hands, because there just is a lack of data. So when COVID happened, I said, let's figure out how we can transition into the final expense market, because there's a lot more different types of lead options in the final expense market compared to the mortgage protection market. Digital leads, telemarketing leads, a lot of different types of leads compared to the mortgage market. So, and I said, why don't we open up the entire country as our prospects and get people to where they're working from home, working from their office, and they're selling over the phone and virtually. And so the insurance carriers started adjusting their products to becoming easier for us to be able to do that. They already were doing a pretty good job on the final expense side, especially compared on the term. But on the final expense during COVID, they figured out, okay, voice signature, instant decision, a lot of different things that took place. Get away from having to email the clients, which when you're dealing with final expense clients, a lot of them maybe don't even know how to open up an email. So, you've got to get it, you got to get it in, you got to get them covered, and you got to do it quickly, and you got to do it over the phone. And so the carriers that we do predominantly most of our business with, they have those products. And so really I just revamped it and said, okay, now we've got the lead generation put in place, so we can generate leads throughout the country, place your orders, do it statewide. We'd like to see at least 4 or 5 states, so that we can, have all the different lead sources that we have, so we can pump them over to you, and go and start building and start getting other agents to do exactly what you're doing, and having them work from home. And then you can, we have a promotional guideline, and you can work your way all the way up to an IMO within our organization, and where we take a very small percentage of the override, but you've got top comp. And a lot of I don't like to just throw comp out here because it causes too much drama, but those of you who know from all the marketing that's gone out, pretty much what some of the top comp is. You have the ability to build up an agency. So I'm looking at my comp grid. So we start basically at like level 1, it goes to level 10. We have IMO, NMO. NMO is our top level, and pretty much our starting comp level is higher than what a lot of these companies' top comp levels are. So if you build and you recruit and you hire people and you get them to plug into our system, we'll make sure that they get 25 to 35 fresh leads, not B leads, inventory leads, but fresh leads in their hands every single week. And they'll have plenty of leads to have plenty of activity to be able to close deals every day, multiple deals every day. And so it's it's really proved itself out over the past year. And all of my mortgage producers have already transitioned into the final expense. They never thought they could make a lot of money in the final expense world. Now they're making more money in the final expense market than they were in the mortgage protection market, because you have so many more people to sell to. Absolutely. And you're not waiting a month to get a lead, because it takes forever for a direct mail lead maybe come back, or they never come back.
Right. Real quick, I had some direction I wanted to go with it, but I wanted to go back real quick. For the lead gen. So is it all just digital marketing? Are you doing any mailers type stuff now? What kind of break down some of that? What are you doing to generate the leads?
I've obviously got some people that still work, just traditional final expense market. And so I've got relationships with different mail houses that they can work with. And and so I'll just refer them over to I'm transparent about, all of our strategic partners, right? So, if it's, Nashville Financial, who's our lead vendor for mortgage protection, it's Nashville Financial, and so I'll call them up, or I'll have them call them, and they'll just set up a lead order through Final Expense or through mortgage protection. We still, mortgage protection callback leads. So basically, they're direct mail leads that go out first class. They call back in rather than fill out the lead piece. The lead return is significantly higher, but again, we protect territories and we don't stack on top of each other. Yeah. So
right.
But and then also digital lead, all the different digital leads, compliant, TCPA compliant telemarketing leads. So we're heavy on compliance with everything that we do. And so as long as the lead's compliant, it's not some shady deal, then we'll vet it out. And if it works, then we'll roll it out and offer it to the agents. So, and we also have IMOs and brokers that are they have their own brand. They have their own total, anonymity. And we just, happen to be able to provide contracts to them, and all they need is contracts.
Right.
Do little tuck-in deals. And so there's a very solid brokerage side of our business that's developing. And then our Mazuma career side is developing. And so between the two of them, we're growing. We're growing very quickly, and I believe.
Well, you said, and I know this is why. It's because you said they have to plug into the process, right? And if they plug into the process, right, no reason to reinvent the wheel. You can see everything that Sam's obviously been able to accomplish, and anybody else that's at the top at the leaderboards, right, within Mazuma, like just plug into the process. Let's take the last bit of the call. Like, what's the process? So like A to B, like, hey, I want to work for Sam Wolfe, right? Like, I'm coming in, like, what does day one look like? What is it? What does that process really look like?
Great question. All right. So use a hypothetical. So Scott Rogers, he's our marketer who works here in Mazuma. He's our external marketer. And so we actually, so for another call, but so we've got some deals with some recruiting platforms that we just did with him. But, let's say he uses ZipRecruiter, right? And so he's got some ZipRecruiter responses coming into him. He'll talk to them. He'll vet them out. He'll talk about what our system is. Basically, here's what we expect. We expect you to come on board and take a minimum of 25 leads a week, Final Expense leads a week. You've got to agree and to get trained up. If you're not trained, if you already have experience, great. A lot of people already have experience. They just need contracts and leads, basically. But if you, we're going to plug you in with one of our managers that works with our company. So for an example, Dan Jackson down in Houston, he's got a very, 6-figure agency per month agency that he's, developed from the ground up. And, we feed agents to his agency, Frank Rosenstern, multiple agencies that we have on the Mazuma career side. And they take 25 leads a week. They have to plug into their upline to make sure that they're getting trained. We expect them to have a minimum of a 20% closing ratio on those.
Okay. Ooh, I like that.
Leads. And basically whatever production they do. So if they write, 10,000 a month or 20,000 a month is going to determine what their commission levels are. So for an example, if they write 10,000 a month, then they'd be at, let's say, 100% contract in general with the carriers, right? As just a personal producer. What we then have them do is plug into our conference calls every week and then any sort of events that we have. And we try to encourage them to build an agency, because I 100% believe if you're not building an agency, at some point you're going to be out of the business. You're ultimately married to the business when you actually have agents within your hierarchy that you're responsible for. That's when you actually make that commitment to the industry, in my opinion. All right. So, and I've had most of the top producers have all had agents under them at some point. So I can stand behind that. And so we want them growing, want them building, want them producing, leading from the front. And eventually, at some point, when they get to where they're doing, let's say, $350,000 a month in production, 150,000 to 300. I'm looking at my little grid. 150,000 to 350,000 in production. Then it makes sense for you to maybe take the energy that you're putting into your personal production and your personal sales into growing,
Right.
doing opportunity meetings, doing what you need to do to be able to get to the next level. And
if you're doing that volume, you're selfish if you ain't sharing it, man. I mean, that's life changing money right there. Which also at 100, I'm like, okay, hey Sam, what's up, dude?
Well, I didn't want to throw the number, but I'm just saying.
No. I love that. I love the production requirement, because I think, for us on the property and casualty side, it's definitely a little bit different. Because people pay me like $15,000 to join, right? And there's different models, right? We do the lump sum up front, and we have some other things built into it. But it's like, you pay me 15 grand, man. I hope I don't have to like push you to hit the trainings, right? Or to do, like, you just put 15 grand up, right? Like, you're going to show up, hopefully, right? Now, obviously we're training, we're building, we're helping them kind of get going. And, we put a lot of energy up front to try to get them up and running fast, but that's because they pay me 15, right? Where y'all's barrier of entry is more of a, hey, I'm licensed, right? So I love that you put the requirement out the gate, because a lot of people, it's funny, man. You'll see them, they complain about how many, like, they just have a bunch of bums on their team. And it's like, well, because, dude, they're a bunch of bums. It's like, just because they have a license doesn't mean they're a good fit for your team.
And you can't, once you'll get to the point where you identify that pretty quickly, and you just got to realize you're not going to be able to change them, right? Some people just can't change, right? And so, but that's, it's still, you've got to be able to consistently be bringing people. If you want to build, you've got to have volume of agents coming through the door. And some are going to be parked over here that are going to, they're going to hit the numbers. Some want to, and they just need some help and some training. And then some just feel that it's like the people that go to the conferences that take all the notes and they don't do anything. Right. And so then you've got those, which there's a lot of those. I'd say there's probably like 70% of those. Right.
So there's probably more of those, right?
The only way you're going to find the good ones is you got to go through the whole group, and you've got to have that consistency in place. But one last thing with, the cash flow quadrant. Employee, self-employed, business owner, and investor. I actually modeled Mazuma to look to flow similar to the way that grid reads. And so we've got a pre-licensing deal. So if somebody's not licensed, then they can come in where they are kind of, they're coming in as the employee mentality. And then we can show them how they can become self-employed by becoming an independent agent. And then we can get them personally producing, making money. They're 1099 now. And then eventually show them how they can cross over to a business owner by building an agency. And then at some point when they build a successful agency, now they can transition over to an investor, but they can go from the left column to the right column all through through Mazuma's business model. And once you get to a certain point, you're hitting the certain numbers, you're actually, in my opinion, you're relatively impossible to get recruited, because at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says. When they say comp's not important, when you already know what you're doing and you're running a successful organization, you have all the resources in place. Comp is the most important.
Right.
Margin. It's your margin of your bottom line. So at some point it is actually the most important. So we've structured it so that it all balances out to where we'll be a partner for life.
I love that you brought up the cash flow quadrant, because I learned that 25 years ago, maybe. It was when that book first came out. I mean, that was Kiyosaki's second book, following up Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But when he showed that to me, like, that was super eye-opening for me. Yeah. Like, I realized pretty quick, like, okay, self-employed is good, but business owner is definitely better. Yes. Like, you got to get on the right side of that quadrant at some point. And that's definitely something that a lot of agents miss, right? Agents, they get into that self-employed thing and they're out there banging it down and they're making a ton of money selling insurance as a 1099. And they're like, I'm killing it. I'm the king of the hill. They're like, just like you said earlier, like I encourage agents to become an agency, to start an agency. Yeah. Because that is going to create it's going to create a much better opportunity for you.
Yeah, Tony, when we're on that left side of that cash flow quadrant, the employee and self-employed, if something happens to you, you're done. There's no legacy, right? So, and I just experienced this with my business partner for almost, I guess, 15 years. She passed away from breast cancer this year, and she was our top personal producer year over year, $600,000, $700,000 a year. It's one thing to be able to do it in 1 year, maybe 2. She did it every year. And, but she focused solely on her personal production. And it's actually given me more of a passion about making sure that people do transition over to the right side of that cash flow quadrant, to where they do become a real business owner, where they have passive income coming in. So they actually have a value on the business, so that if anything did happen to me, you could turn around and sell it for millions of dollars. But if it's just me as a personal producer, it's all earned income, right? So the left column's earned income, right income's passive income. Where do you want to be? You want to be on the passive income side at some point. That should be your goal as an insurance agent. That's why there's so many levels above where you're at, so that you can actually have the spreads to be able to build that out at some point. But if you're not taking advantage of that, then you're
missing the boat.
You're missing the opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. Gosh, dude, I swear, I feel like we are just getting going too. We could, I'm not even playing, Sam. I was like, we could probably go for a couple hours on this one, man. Dude, it's freaking, it's all really good stuff. And I love, this is why I love doing the show, is because we get to bring people on, right? But then, people, including myself, I get to hear people who have done it multiple times over, right? Like, this ain't your first time building a successful company, right? Or selling or pivoting. I love the word pivot, right? You're never taking a step back. You just got to pivot sometimes. I think, dude, like, you're just killing the game, dude. And I love hearing everything that you've got going. Real quick, just kind of, hey, how can people reach out to Sam if they're interested in working with you? They want to kind of see what you got going. How can they, are the leads for public, or is that only for Mazuma? Are you keeping those in-house for your agents?
Yeah. So we're for Mazuma Career. It's obviously it's in-house, and call me. I'll explain the pricing model on it.
Okay.
But based on production, you can actually get it to where, you're almost not even paying for the leads. I mean, the return on your investment is so high.
Got to produce.
So
produce.
5,000, 10,000. We call it 10 for 10, 10 plus. You can get your leads down. So just call us, call me, reach out to me. I'll go through the more details, with everything. But yeah, so I'll give you. You want to put it in your chat, or you just want to throw it out here?
I'll put it. I can put it in the description if you want to. You can say it too, and then I'll come back.
Go ahead and email me. Email me at swolfe, WOLFE, at Mazuma, MAZUMA, financial.com, and then text me if you want to talk as well. My numbers, I'm giving my personal number, so text me. 817-805-3106. And if you're interested in talking with me, text me and I'll call you. We'll set up a call. Lacey DeMello will reach out to you, and we'll get a call set up, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, thanks, man, for having me on. We could go like for hours and hours.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like we're back at SWAT,
dude.
To
chat about. Absolutely. Yeah. So you've had a phenomenal career in the insurance business. You've done all this stuff, right? You've been an agent out there banging on doors, right? Running leads. You've worked as a marketer, I understand correctly, right? Also, kind of. And then obviously you've graduated into now where you're running your own deals and kind of calling your own shots. And you've seen the industry change, right? Kind of go from analog to digital over the years. For new agents that are coming into the business today versus new agents that were coming into the business 20 years ago when it was a lot different, like, what are some of the things that you would tell an agent? Like, if you're brand new, you're coming to this business, you want to get started with a company like Mazuma or any company, like, what do you think are the items that agent's going to have to wake up, realize, and buckle down? Like if you're Scott Rogers and you're talking to a guy who answers ZipRecruiter ad, how are you telling him, like, gauging, like, this is going to be a good business for you and this is what you're going to have to accept, or this is not going to be a good business for you because you can't do ABC?
Yeah. So we've gotten to the point where if let's say we talk to 10 people, and 7 of them are like, man, I've been in the business for 50 years, and and we're like, sir, to be honest with you, I don't think this model works for you. Not only that being the reason, but after you go through the he's the greatest person in the world, but he hadn't really done anything in 50 years.
Right.
So we we're very direct on what we're looking for. And if you're not wanting to come on board and actually work, and you're just wanting to get a contract and plug into the calls and, maybe give your opinion about, things that we're doing, but you're like not doing anything and you're not putting any action into the business. We're trying to identify that type of person pretty quickly, because what we're really ultimately looking for is just people that want to work, and that's from 20 years ago, even 25 years ago, when I was a teenager exposed to the business and I was around agents. The same type of person that was successful back then is the same type of person that is going to be successful today. And it's just that extremely motivated person who has the want, that's hungry. Yes, that's right, Brian. And, and then all of the other stuff, like with digital leads or with, the commissions or the carriers and the process, there's no different than what it was 25 years ago. You know what I mean? It's just the process is a little bit different. It's at the end of the day, it's 100% reliant on us. And either we have the want, we want nice things in life. At the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says. Every successful person wants nice things. Okay. Generally, most successful people want to have a nice house, nice cars, a nice life, nice vacations. They don't want to worry about money, in terms of not having it. And so there's a personality trait that I love that SWAT, since we're ending, it kind of comes to the end, we can go back to the SWAT conference. SWAT has identified a way through the colors to be able to identify a lot of these things. Right. And so we, it's if you're successful, you're going to start attracting people that are similar to you. And then they're not going to come because you're going to piss them off when you're talking to them about joining the organization. But if you do, if they're like, man, I like that, I had a meeting in here the other day with a guy and I thought he was going to walk out, but then he ended up like, I triggered him to get competitive and like he needed that, I guess, because he's been around a bunch of people that his old organization that were, that's okay. You didn't really write any business, you'll get a trophy as well.
Get him next time.
Yeah, you'll still get a trophy. And I just like, hit him between the eyes and said, here's what I would expect if you want to come over. You're telling me you can do this. You're the greatest person in the world. All right. Let's do it. And let's partner. And here's what it's going to cost you every week to get started. It's going to cost you money. It's an investment. It's not a cost. It's an investment. A lot of agents don't want to invest in themselves. And that's the biggest killer with 90% of the agents is that they either are too cheap or they don't believe in themselves, or they don't believe in the business. That's why 8% of the agents work out in the industry. I believe one of the reasons is because they're too scared to invest and they don't understand why they don't get any results. But you have to invest in leads. If you're not investing in leads, you're not going to do anything. You might sell to some friends and family, but and half of them charge back.
Right. Well, and a lot of people will never even invest in themselves. It's like that was the biggest mindset shift for us when Redwood was kind of going. And I'm running a training with Victor Gonzalez later this month on just, hey, like how to build, how we built this retail agency on the PNC side from scratch. Right. And when we first started, shit, man, everything was an expense. Everything we looked at, like if there was any dollars coming out, man, that is an expense.
Yeah.
And what really Cody, again, going back to Cody, what he really opened it up, man, was like, dude, it's the expense versus investment mindset. Right. And so many people view like, how many people could have just had their lives changed at SWAT or at 8% or all these, name a conference, right? Or even hell, name a course.
Yeah.
Or a book. Like some people won't even buy a freaking book, man, or an audio. Hell, you don't even have to read them these days, guys. You can just listen to them, right? And they view that dollar sign as an expense. And I always say that, man, because that was the biggest game changer for us. Now, I will say we probably went a little heavy on the investment side, and we were spending money like crazy, dude. We were all over the country at every event, you name it, we're there.
But it pays
off.
Look
where we're at now.
Yeah, it paid off. And a lot of people want instant profit, right? And they're like, okay, if I write 10,000 in a month, I want all of my 100% of the commissions, not realizing that, okay, it might cost you $2,000 to be able to generate that $10,000. Okay. You're going to net out 8, but I learned this from the very, very beginning when we were stroking checks in a month for $500,000 for direct mail. And now, it's going to take at least 30 days for the leads to ultimately all come back. Then you've got to be able to have the agents go and write the business. Then the commissions have to flow through from the business written. So you're at least 90 days before you really start seeing any return on that investment. So, but you've got to keep putting that out every single month. So you're in the hole, it would look like $1.5 million, right? Because if everything will stop, you're in the hole.
Right.
So there's no profit there until over time, right? Mm-hmm. And so for agents that, so it's just all relative to if you're an agency, IMO, what your model is. But at the end of the day, if you're not generating prospects and you're not getting leads in your hands, I promise you this, you will not be successful in this business. That's the bottom line.
I've had a lot of agents and agency owners, recruiters, or, business owners that are bringing agents in or looking for talent, tell me or say that they're having trouble finding quality people. They're having trouble finding motivated people these days. Do you believe that's true, or do you believe maybe they're just not looking hard enough? Do you believe that agents have gotten less motivated, or people, society maybe has gotten less motivated over the last couple of decades?
Well, I mean, you have a generational change that's, taken place where there is a little bit of different mindsets. I am experiencing maybe a little bit something different. The younger people, the people that are like my son's age, 18 to I'd say 35, they're way more aggressive than when I was in that, in that, I guess, generation. Because they've got YouTube, they watch all these guys like Mr. Beast and all these, guys that have made just insane. They hear real estate YouTube guys that are their age. They're investing in all these commercial real estate. They're learning about cap rates and all this other stuff. They come and talk to me about, and I'm like, okay, well, I see the opposite. I think that there's a generational. You got to get. What I like about what Joe, my understanding, what you're able to do, and the guys that are in their 20s, you're able to target those guys. My goal, to be honest with you, with Simon, my son, is he's already recruited 6 of his friends over here.
Right, get them.
Yeah, and so now they're going to go and bring people on. And here in Texas, a lot of them are bilingual, which is great. Mm-hmm. We're looking for more multicultural agents as well. And Spanish, specifically, bilingual in Spanish market is one of the big initiatives that we have. But I think the gold is in the younger people from 18 years old to 35, and to drill in on those guys and then get them plugged in with one of your young guys that are making $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year or more, and then let him mentor them. And then generally a percentage of them will follow that leader because he's doing it. He's leading from the front.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. Well said. Well, man, this has been a great hour. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come join us.
We're going to do a second call.
We're going to do another hour. Let's go.
Yeah.
But no, thank you. We got to let you get back to your work, and certainly let the rest of these viewers get back to their day and do their thing. So, awesome. But thank you very much. And you guys heard it. He put his phone number out there, 817-805-3106. Call Sam for a good time, or just hit him up at swolfe@mazumafinancial.com, and he can be happy to help you out, maybe get you on a better track.
I love it. Hey, I love it.
Thanks for having me on. I'll be coming out to Austin next month.
Sweet.
Oh, sweet.
So we'll have to get together and have a good dinner.
Yeah. Look us up for sure, man. We'll definitely do it.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Sam. Thank all you guys for tuning in, man. We are here every Wednesday, 9 a.m. for your viewing pleasure, bringing on great people like Sam Wolfe. So, don't miss the next one, because it's going to be good too.
And it's the peak of the week, right? Let's keep going. Keep the freaking fuel on the fire, right? We've got more show. We got Tactical Thursday tomorrow. We got Friday Fuel. We got Saturday morning cartoons for the podcast. But ultimately, let's get out there, right? Let's have that investment, right, versus the expense mindset. But I love what Sam said the best, right, is just plug into the process, y'all. This shit ain't changed in 25 years. It ain't rocket science, right? But just plug into that process, whatever organization you're with, and just go out there and get it. Stay hungry, and you will find success. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Sam, again. Hope everybody has an amazing rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see y'all next week at 9 a.m. Central. See you guys.
Thanks, guys.